Hello and welcome to Unveil. In this part of the world, it seems like violence has become so embedded in our culture that sadly we do not even talk about the impact it has on children who are exposed to this level of violence. Well, today my guest and I, Psychotherapist Amanda Iheme, will be putting a spotlight on the impact of childhood trauma on adults. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yes.
I really like talking to you.
Same here.
Because I said this before we started shooting, that there's certain people that you just want to have a conversation with because they give you aha moments. And I love aha moment because it helps me piece two and two. And I'm like, oh, that is actually why this happens to me. Because anytime I have this conversation is to inspire people, is to enlighten people, and I want to be enlightened as I'm having the conversation as well.
Yes.
I read an article of yours, and I think maybe it was aired on Vanguard or one newspaper, where you spoke about how you said last year you would have said that depression was the most common problem that people came to you for, but this year what you've noticed is deep, painful childhood trauma, especially because of parents that were unable to deal with their own trauma in healthy fashion or even at all.
That might It's generational curses. That's how it is. So people always say oh, generational curse. Your father has been in your family. That's not. It's trauma. It's usually just trauma.
As an Igbo girl, you're also Igbo.
Yes.
Before you get married to someone, they do these research. They want to see, is there anyone that has mental issues in your family? Did anyone commit suicide or things like that? I think it also goes back to just what you're saying.
Yes.
That people never really deal with it and they just inherit that trauma. Can you tell us more about that?
Now, the thing is that the way the trauma is even inherited is quite unconscious. We never really notice it. So let me give you an idea so we have a better perspective. So say, for example, your father or your mother was sexually molested as a child. So that's we're going way dark. So we have more impacts because of intensity. Let's say they were molested as children and they never really got a chance to really process that. And the molestation that happened to them brought up feelings of anger, feelings of hatred, feelings of resentment of a certain kind of people or particular things, particular triggers in their lives that they just decided, you know what, this happened to me, I'm going to move on, I'll suppress it. Then they now end up becoming parents and having kids. Now, it's now when they're raising their children that all these things now start to happen, because the way kids learn is not so much about what you tell them, but more about what you do. So it's an unconscious picking up of and subconscious picking up of lessons of, okay, my mother is reacting to anger this way, I'm going to react to it that way. My mother is handling situations this way, I'm going to handle situations that way. We don't actually know when we do it, but we do it. And sometimes it's a case of, okay, since they handle situations this way, I'm going to handle it the opposite of that way. And then everybody we try to find now ends up becoming, because we have this reaction plug, they have to fit into that way we handle life. And we find that we end up having relationships with people who are just like our parents. So now back to how they raise a kid. So a mother who has been abused is now raising children, still has that same anger, still has that same bitterness, still has that resentment in her, which has obviously over the years, other experiences have added onto it to make it far much more than what it is. So when they're raising their kids, they now start to yell at them. They now start to now express that feeling of anger. They're like, oh, you're stupid, you're crazy, you're mad. Oh, this should have happened to you. So all of that starts to come out. And then that child grows up having low self-esteem, deep feelings of shame, guilt, and that same anger and resentment and bitterness that their parents had. And then they get older, get married, don't deal with that shit, have kids, and then end up now training their kids that same way, and their kids get older, get married, have kids, and then end up training. So it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on until somebody decides that I'm going to go for therapy and heal this thing from my family. So that's how pretty much it keeps going. So you see families that constantly have depression in their family, constantly have anxiety issues. If you ask kids that are anxious today, are your parents anxious? They'll tell you, yeah, my parents are anxious. Because when you're growing up, your parents are always like, can't do this, hurry up, do this, da 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 da. You grow up in that environment, and then over time you realize that you too, you're like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do da 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 da. And you're wondering, you keep telling and people tell themselves oh, this is how I've always been. No, honey, it's not how you've always been. You learned it from somewhere. You learned it from your parents.
So interesting, especially the anxiety thing. You said that some parents, some children, what they do is that they either mimic what their parents did, or they try and become the complete opposite. Can you tell us more about that complete opposite? Because I see a lot of people who come online, because right now we're here in the woke age where people come online and say, oh, my parents did this, they did not raise me well, or they didn't know how to handle trauma. But end up as parents that they complain about.
Yes. But because the thing is, like, what happens is we don't know how, or we can't see how living in that space and environment has affected us. So it's like when you're living with them, your reactions and your responses are formed based on how you cope with your parents. So if you like, your parents were very angry and they were yelling at you all the time, you might decide that I don't want to be that kind of person. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to learn how to manage a person with their personality, and then every other person that you meet will have to now fit into, that's how I manage people's personality. These are the people I know how to manage, so these are the kind of people I'm going to bring closer to me. And even in you trying to change to like, okay, fine, this is the situation I'm in, this is how I'm going to adapt to it so that I don't become like it, we never take out the time to actually pay attention to what exactly made my parents the way they are, what exactly brought about these personality issues and problems that they have within them. And because we don't have that understanding, we're never really truly healing from the problem. We're just pretty much coping with it the best way our limited knowledge can help us with.
That is just we've not even done like 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, that's good.
Yes.
Okay. And when it comes to like childhood trauma, like I said, some of the conversations that I have on this platform seems like an elite conversation because people are still looking for money to eat.
Yes.
So when we say childhood traumas, are there certain things that we as Nigerians, because I want to bring it back home, that we were exposed to as children that were traumatic, but we don't know?
My dear, just look online and see African moms. You see those jokes? Perfect example. It's like, oh, your mother is so dramatic, she's so extra. When your mother does something, she's like, you want to beat me? You want to, do you know what that does? It makes it difficult for you to express your feelings because you feel that when you do, you're going to be threatened or someone is not going to listen to you, they're not going to hear you out, they're not going to give you the right response that you're supposed to get, your feelings don't even get resolved, the issues that you're battling with never even get heard. So you have a lot of people who have not been heard as kids because the moment they express their displeasure to their parents, it automatically becomes like a threat. So they want to maintain the peace, they don't want to raise conflict. So what they do is when they have issues, they bottle it up inside and then they find other ways to express their anger that is not very, very visible. So that whole, your mother is so, African mothers are so dramatic, African mothers are so extra, blah, 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 that is actually traumatizing you because what you do is you become an adult that does not know how to express their feelings because they are trying to maintain the peace. They don't want anybody to feel like they are ruffling feathers, they are threatening, and they don't even want that backlash of, I want someone to now start making me feel bad for expressing how I feel. Because you've grown up in an environment where every single time you try to let your parents know that they're doing something wrong to you, the next thing you hear is, you're a bad kid. You don't know how to talk to your elders. Children should be only seen, not heard. You want to kill your mother. No. All those words, like they feed that back to you. And they're just like, well, that's how my parents raised me, and that was okay. But it wasn't. Because now you're in a relationship with friends and they'll do something bad to you and you can't talk. You now go inside and be sulking and now start planning evil ways to now get back at them.
I think that might be one of the reasons why I encounter a lot of people who are passive aggressive.
Yes, because when we're growing up, and that's like, if people were allowed to study psychology a lot more, I wish they were, they would have a better understanding of the emotional growth and development of children. Because it's like, at a point in your childhood, according to the psychologist Erik Erikson, there are different stages that a human being grows or goes through for their emotional and social development. And one of those stages, which is a very important one, is autonomy versus guilt. So it is at that age that your child is trying to learn and understand what the world means to them. So they start to express, they start to tell you that this is what I like, this is what I don't like. I don't like you speaking to me this way. I don't like wearing this. I'd rather study this in school. I'd rather go to this class. I'm more interested in that. They start to really express themselves. Now, at that point, what parents are supposed to do, because they have a better knowledge of how the world works, is they're supposed to help their kids, guide them on how they can use this personality that they have to become the best versions of themselves. And that means that the parents also have to deal with the fact that sometimes some of the things that they think is good for their kids is not actually what is best for them because it's not right for the child themselves. So Nigerian parents don't actually know that. So what they want to do is control every single thing that you do from when you're a child up until the point where they think you are ready for marriage. They want to be the ones, and even after that, they won't even tell you how to be married, who to be married to. So most people never get a chance to really know what I like, who I am, what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to behave. And the moment they start to act according to what works for them, what happens is guilt, shame, fear. They start to feel like, oh, I'm not allowed to do this because this is not how I was raised, or because I don't have a place to express, or because it is going to be the wrong thing to do. It actually isn't. You've just been in an environment where every time you try to have your own sense of autonomy, your parents put you down by telling you, you don't know what you're talking about, your voice doesn't matter, mine is the best because I'm the parent and I am the adult. So that's how you have like a lot of passive aggressive people who have no autonomy whatsoever.
You spoke about how because children grow up in homes where their voices are denied, yes, they hold on to that anger inside. But when we come out into our society, we see that people are so violent. When you enter the bus, it's not difficult for you to hear the woman insult the conductor just because of a change, or the conductor insult. Why do you think we have such a high level of violence if so many people come from homes where they've had to hold on to that anger?
It's because anger needs to be expressed, anger needs to be shown, anger needs to be let out of the system. People need to communicate displeasure. People need to say, I'm not happy with this, I don't like this, I don't like that. Same way they also need to be happy and joyful and accepting. They also need to reject certain things. And when you're not allowed space to express it, you suppress it. But the thing is, emotions are not shit. You don't come out in the toilet and then pull out your feelings. No, you suppress it, but it leaks out. It's like water. So it starts to affect other things and manifest itself in different ways. And so you now see some people be like, why is this person so angry? Sit with them and ask them. Just ask them, what kind of household were you raised in? The usual question will be like, oh, is it average Nigerian household? But that average Nigerian household, it has sexual abuse in it, it has emotional abuse in it, it has physical abuse in it, it has verbal abuse, because it seems like a part of parenting in Nigeria is abuse. And a friend of mine who's also a therapist, she came to Nigeria for the first time, and she told me, I was talking to her, I was like, yo, like, there are a lot of narcissists in this country. And she was like, yes, because it is deeply embedded in your culture to be narcissistic. Even the men, the way they treat women, the way they treat men, everybody wants to just do what is good for them. Everybody only ever thinks about their own issue. Everyone is apathetic, because for you to not be narcissistic, it involves compassion, it involves empathy, and it involves ability to reflect upon oneself, introspect, and think about how are the things I'm doing and decisions I'm making affecting me and affecting the people around me. But nobody talks about that. Everyone just wants to do what is good for me, what will make me happy, even if it's at the expense of other people. The parents raise their kids that way, focusing on what can my child do to make me happy, so that I can take this information out and gloat about it, so it can feed my insecurity of not being good enough and hype up my ego to make me feel like I am worth something in my society. So everything is pretty much narcissistic, the way we raise our kids, just to make sure that we look good. This whole thing that we talk about, oh, Lagos is a very pretentious place, everyone is just putting on packaging. That's the ego that they are portraying, not the true self, just the ego. And everything they do is to feed that ego. And narcissists have big egos. Like, it is so huge, they would never think that the problem is them. The problem is always other people around.
Is that why we have a victim mentality?
Yes, that's exactly part of the reasons why we have a victim mentality. Because when you're raised with a narcissist that's always telling you that there's something wrong with you, everything you try to do is to appease that person. Over time, you now start to think that, oh, if I put myself under the line, I will get love. If I over-sacrifice, I will get love. If I go through the most difficult thing and I suffer so much, I deserve love. I am worthy of love. Your parents will put you through a lot of hell and just be like, oh, you're not the first person to go through all that. But even that discomfort of you doing what you don't like, they will appease it because, oh, that's what they want. So you're doing what I want, so I would then give you affection. affection. So it now becomes a token system. So for you to get approval, for you to get joy, for you to get any of these things, you have to be the one suffering. Then after a while, it stops being a thing of this is not good for me to this is the best way to function through life. So every time you go around looking for situations where you are the victim, so that you are the innocent one that then gets affection, that gets approval, that gets the love that you're looking for. And besides, when you're the victim, you have no responsibility. You have no ability. Like, why? Who's going to blame you? You're the victim now, so nobody's going to blame you for anything. So you want to take up that mantle of Nami suffer pass. So Nami supposed gets everything. You go to church and you cry to God and say, oh, I've been suffering, blah, blah, so I deserve all the good things in my life. Mothers would put themselves through the line and suffer so much for their children and suffer for their husbands without taking into consideration their own being. But then they tell themselves that I will get consoled for my suffering and my pain. Exactly. And that's why when your kids grow up, your mother will not start telling you, I carried you in my stomach for 9 months. I suffered for you. I blah, blah, blah. Very manipulative, because they know that the only way for them to get love is because they suffered. So they will suffer just so that they can get affection. And if you don't give them affection, which is what they think they're entitled to for the pain they've gone through, you become the bad guy. And they're not the bad guys because I'm the victim. I suffered. You didn't suffer for shit. So it's a very, very toxic environment. Very toxic.
But let's just move a bit away from that and let's talk about corporal punishment.
Yes.
There's this debate now that it's heated when you talk about it, that it is abuse to hit a child, to be physically violent on a child. So I guess the question is, how much violence is necessary in a child's life, and is it even necessary in the first place?
That part is a little tricky, and even in the psychology system, like for therapists and all that, it's still a little bit tricky because we're trying to understand like how much of pain does a child have to experience to form them as an individual, because we don't only just learn from good things happening to us, we also learn from pain. But then how much is too much for them to learn from? Now, nobody can give you an exact amount, an exact answer, but then we can definitely tell when it is far much more than what they should be receiving. Now, all kids have different ways of understanding and perceiving and relating and all that. And with each kid, you can't raise all your children the same way. Like if a child offends, there are some kids that for you to get through to them, all you have to do is sit them and talk to them, explain to them, and that's it. And there are some kids that when you talk to them, they wouldn't hear you until you apply a little bit of force into it for it to actually sink in the importance of why they're doing what they're doing is wrong and why it shouldn't be done. And there are some kids that will require some form of punishment to let them know that there are consequences for bad actions. Now, that discernment is not exactly something that we're very much aware of because we're not very emotionally intelligent in this particular country. So because of that, everybody just raises their kids the same way. And it's like if you do something bad, automatically all that their pent up anger from their own childhood. Because you even see it in boarding school. How your seniors would tell, or even your mister, I'm going to do to my juniors what was done to me. So your parents, literally in your childhood, because their parents didn't raise them anywhere different, they don't even know any other way of raising a child, and they never bothered to learn, they will not say, oh, the way I was raised, I'm going to raise you. So if you do something bad, I'm going to hit you. Now, personally, I don't think that there should be any form of physical violence in raising a child. Emotional, verbal, spiritual, none at all. Because it impairs the ability to actually function as a child, as a human being, and creates unnecessary fear. Which is why you see how a lot of Nigerians don't even know the difference between respect and fear. That's why you think somebody respects you, but they actually fear you. And because they fear you, they're able to betray you. But you think they respect you. It's not because when someone respects you, they will be loyal. They would never go behind you. They would not want to go steal from you, embarrass you. That's different because they respect you. They believe in who you are. They see your worth, and they see you, and they know that this person deserves a certain level of treatment. But when they're afraid of you, all they're trying to do is protect themselves because it's fear. And the thing about fear is people run from it. So what they do is they pretend to be that eye service thing that they do outside, and then behind you they'll be doing something else because they don't respect you. They only fear you. But everyone carries that fear because you know what? Fear, when someone fears you, it feeds your ego and makes you feel much bigger. So to be honest, I would say that in Nigeria, no form of physical violence should be used when raising your child. Everyone needs to go back and learn what is the best and healthiest emotional way to raise it. If you want to punish your kids for doing something bad, there are other ways to let them know the consequence of their action rather than hitting them. Like, I see some people beat their kids like they're animals. Like, they use koboko. Why are you using a horse whip on your child?
I mean, it got to the point where there was I read a thread on social media, Twitter, where they're like, tell me the silliest things that your mom has or your parents have beaten you for. You read something, okay, because I cut my hair a different style.
And it's always, and you see that thing, an overreaction. It's a disproportionate reaction to a person's behavior, which is why a lot of people are very scared. They don't want to offend because they don't know what exactly is going to come out of it. They're afraid of failing, of making mistakes, because they always think that whatever small mistake they make will bring about like the worst situations. Oh, if I make a small mistake in my job, I'll get fired. If I talk about the way I feel and make someone unhappy, they'll completely reject me. It's a disproportionate reaction to a situation because you were raised in a household where if just because you move cup from here to here, the mother will call you, why did you do this? Why, stupid child? Bah, bah, boss. They will kick you and say, go to your room. A child, a small child that barely understands how the world functions, that doesn't even know what is wrong with them moving something from left to right. Okay, the person has been doing it over and over and over and over again. There is a certain level of patience it takes to teach a person without bringing them down and without insulting them and without abusing them. But Nigerian parents, they don't understand that.
I feel that we just need to continue to have this conversation by telling people that there's a different template.
Yes,
to gaining respect. Because even before you become a parent, like you use the example of boarding school. Perfect example of how, like you said, generational trauma, whatever it is. So I'm in GS1, I've been bullied. I can't wait to enter GS2 because my GS1 person is going to do that. And I think in Nigeria we don't talk a lot about the impact of bullying.
Yes.
On that. Are you a therapist? Do you get people who come to talk to you about it?
And I'll sit with them and I'm trying to ask them, okay, we'll go to the childhood. How was your relationship with your parents? And they're like, oh, my family was fine. And I'm like, okay, fine. That's usually what every Nigerian child would say, but let's dig a little bit deeper. You go to individual. What's your relationship with your father like, your mom like? It's like my parents were very supportive, they were very helpful, they were very present for me, they were loving, they were kind. And then we were wondering, like, where is the self-esteem issue coming from? Where is the lack of confidence coming from? Where is the shame coming from? Where is this irrational fear coming from? Where is this guilt coming from? Why can't this person be able to go to themselves? Why have they lost themselves? I'm like, okay, fine, so let's go. What was primary school like? What were the adults in your life like? What was secondary school like? Then you now notice that they move back and their hands are folded. When a person folds their hand in therapy, that's an automatic, I'm trying to protect myself. That's a defense stance. Like, okay, there is something that I don't want to reveal or talk about. That's when you now see, they now start telling you, I was abused by a senior. They used to take my things when I was a kid. I didn't feel safe. I was always on edge. People's anxiety issues come from secondary school. They're being chased by seniors, being abused and made to do work that is not meant for them, taking responsibility for things that so you come inside, one person has messed up, everybody gets punished for it, and they get punished in the worst ways. People are shamed. Everyone in your corridor comes to beat you up for something you've done. Like, it's a lot of people experience significant abuse in high school that they're not even able to talk about.
It's become embedded in the culture. Like, it just, when you sit down with young people, like, your school, when they tell me, they just tell me you down for top water, we lie down for gutter. Your own is better. And I'm like,
they use cutlass, they beat us. You'd be like, what kind of cutlass? And I know, and I just decide. You'd be like, guy, you know, say they use for my body. One senior give me this one here. One guy slapped me. You know, people were raped in secondary school. People were abused in secondary school by teachers, by seniors, by their mates. People were verbally abused. People were put down.
It just takes me back because I'm having a moment, the narcissistic personality that you said, that for you to not be a narcissist, you have to have that empathy and compassion. And I think living in a place like Nigeria robs you of that.
Yes, especially Lagos. Now, let's just be Lagos makes you so apathetic.
That empathy. Like, I was walking on the road one day, and this woman, Mama Put, she has a restaurant, and her children, they come there, and kids, maybe the oldest is maybe 9. And I was walking and I just heard the woman say, this pikin, these children, Mona not make me poison now. I go poison now one day. You know, go sit down for one place, eat this food. I was like this. I was passing. People in the shop were laughing. You know, it's like, madam, you don't do, calm down for that children. You guys sit down now. Don't make your mom angry. When I saw that, and the children just kept quiet and they were eating, and because I was a child as well, I was shouted at a whole lot.
Welcome to my life.
I think about what that child is going through, and just certain things that, as a parent, when you say it stays.
Yes.
It stays.
Yes.
And I wonder if that child now is maybe in the next 10 years going to remember what their mom said. My mom said she would poison me.
Okay. Do you know what that puts in you?
You know what that is?
It creates fear and it builds hate. That's how it's like, because the first thing you start to wonder is, why does she want to kill me? Does she hate me? And then you now start to wonder that there's a possibility that she might actually hate me. And that breaks trust, and that impairs the ability to love and form intimate relationships. Because there is that fear that has already been created with the figure who was supposed to teach you love, trust. I don't think parents actually know what the amount of work it is or it takes to raise a fully functioning, healthy individual. If they did, there's a bomb picking anyhow like this, they would take out the time to know that, okay, I want to really have a kid, so I know this is what it takes, and I need to be physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually ready to take up this responsibility that I'm about to have. But they don't. They don't be saying, if I give you, I'll give you clothes, send you school. Now, so you don't have a right to ask me for anything else. But a human being is not just that. Because if that's all we were, Nigeria for day better, because not all of us go school.
Yeah.
Not all of us enter university. Some of us do primary school, we sabi rice, we get clothes for body, we day inside house, but we still mad. So it means that the problem is not the physical, it's not the financial. There's something deeper that we're not looking at.
Just growing up, even because just talking about this, my mom became close recently. We became cordial, we became friends. That's what we use. But I was telling my younger sister one day, and I said, back then when we were much younger, my mom was not mentally okay. As an adult, having this conversation, as a child, you don't see this. Because I'm like, before she was 24, she already had like 3-4 kids and things like that. This woman was mentally unstable. Yeah. She used to shout at me a lot. She used to shout at us a lot, not even just me. She used to shout at all of us a lot. And as an adult now, when I hear my mom's voice, like I'm like, I didn't do it. I'm like, what did I do? That's my first reaction. She might just come up and say, I'm home. And I'm like,
Obi, what am I doing?
The first thing is my heart skips. It takes me.
Is everything
Yes. I just get up, I check my room, and I'm like, what? This woman, you have a key to your goddamn room. She's not entering your room. So that first 20-30 seconds is the reaction to what happened to me as a child.
You've grown up like, your mother is coming home, she's always coming with all the anger and frustration from Lagos to pour it on top of you. The house is not clean, you didn't cook, you didn't do this, that they will beat you with the spoon, and it will be like the littlest thing. You burnt rice, you are finished. Like, there are some times, even now that I'm growing up, there are some times when I just notice that, oh my goodness, where is this fear and anxiety coming from? Where is this discomfort coming from? And I just feel like, yo, this is similar to the shit that I experienced when I was a kid. Where if I was in this situation, my mother would react this way, and I know that it's the most painful thing I'm about to experience. So I always expect that everyone is going to provide that same amount of pain to me as an adult. And I'm still, so it's like, you still are that child. It's almost as if when we become adults, because we don't have memories like that of being kids, we forget that we were kids at all. But we don't know. You know, they leave. You just grow. And everything that happens to you when you were small, it day inside your body. And it will show. It will show with the fact that you can't even communicate your fears. It would show because you can't sustain relationships. It would show because you have no friends. You not tell yourself, I'm an introvert, I love to be isolated, I like my space. Naji, you've got poor social skills because your parents never let you socialize with other children. You don't know how to speak about how you feel because your parents always put you down when you were a child. You don't know how to express your anger in a healthy way because nobody taught you how to do it. So now you are reacting as that same 5-year-old child that you were when your parents were abusing you and you didn't know. You are avoidant. You can't sustain relationship. All these people that are saying, I don't like labels. I can't commit. I'm polyamorous. You have intimacy issues because you grew up with a father who was emotionally avoidant, because you grew up with a mother who never let you understand what trust was, what love was, what forgiveness meant, what was meant to be compassionate and empathetic. You don't know the qualities of sustaining a relationship. So the moment you get into a relationship that requires you to use those skills, imaro, you don't know. So what you do is you sabotage it. You either make it the other person's fault, or you find a reason to run away, or you just ghost. But then you now come and start saying, no, I have commitment issues. Where do you think he's coming from? Heaven? Or you thought when you became an adult, you just wore a coat of commitment issues?
You've spoken a bit on spiritual abuse. You keep saying that because it comes as like a recurring theme. I hear it. I don't understand it. Can you make me understand it? Because I feel because we live in a very spiritual, yes. We don't like to use the word, but yes, we're a very spiritual nation. How does that spiritual abuse affect us, and what does it even really mean?
To be honest, there is no defined term for spiritual abuse, but I can help you make sense of it.
Please do.
The first one I can give you an example is weaponizing of spirituality. God will punish you. That first one, on his own, that's it. That Jesus will never accept you. You wouldn't go to heaven. You wouldn't make it. Do you think this is what a child of God should be doing? When people try to manipulate your behavior by using spiritual elements, your belief or in God, your Christianity, your faith, they tell you that, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, simply because that they know that God, because now then get Bluetooth, where God send a message, say, that's the way they do, you will burn in hell for it. Where people refuse to accept you for who you are and use spirituality as a way to denounce your identity. Oh, you can't dress like that. It's not acceptable for a child of God. Oh, children of God do not behave this way. Oh, children of God do not do that. Oh, Christians are not allowed to say that. You're a child of God. You can't do that. You can't wear clothes. You can't put on earrings. You can't try out makeup. You can't grow your hair. You can't express the way you feel. You can't be angry. You can't be sad. You can't cry. You are not depressed in Jesus' name. That says it. Where people try, they limit your ability to be by using your faith as an armor to control you and to make you do things that you are not supposed to do. And sometimes they create so much fear. And it's like for some kids, their experience is that my parents wake up every morning and go out to the church to be pastors and priests and priestesses and come back home and insult them and abuse everybody and act the complete opposite of what they're preaching. That is abuse. Because your child is watching that, and it is affecting the way they see spirituality, and it affects because the thing we don't realize is that every human being has their own spiritual language. You have your own personal connection to God. When you come to the world, there are many already established spiritual faiths and religion. Now, as you're growing up, what your parents are supposed to do is to pretty much educate you about all the many different spiritual faiths so that you, as an individual, get a chance to choose what works for you as you get older. Not that they hold you to one faith. They're supposed to allow you to explore what makes sense to you. How do you want to relate with God? Do you find it in a traditional belief? Honey, go there. Do you find it in Christian? To be honest, I feel that parents should be able, when their kids get up to a certain age, they should start having a conversation with them about spirituality and about religious faith and about belief and all that. And your child will tell you that, oh, I like this one, so I want to be an Ifa worshiper. Every Sunday or Saturday or anything, carry your child to go and worship Ifa. If your child tells you that I want to try the Muslim religion now, take them, because it's all the same God. The only thing about religion is just a path to God. It isn't God itself. It's just a way to connect to God. So you need to figure out what path, what way works for you. When I was growing up, that was when I was about to tell you. So when I was growing up, my mother was this deeply spiritual person. Charismatic. You are moving into a new house. Call pastor, we'll sprinkle holy oil and then wash the house so that whatever evil spirit has been there would leave the house. That's her belief. She's always praying. always fighting demons, always fighting evil spirits. You know, people are suppressing her in her dreams, people are attacking her, charismatic leader, receive Holy Communion. That's the narrative of pretty much almost every kid's parent. So like that was it. So when I was growing up, I remember there was a time I told myself that, you know what, girl, you don't want to be fighting demons, so you cannot be that spiritual. So after I became more aware of the person that I was, of course, your person is going to tell you like, dude, where is your faith? Where is your religion? How do you connect with your God? And I wanted to, I started doing that. I started finding other religions, like, because me, I did the exploration. I went to Ekanka, Christianity, Catholic, Buddhism, Hinduism, traditional religion, Igbo, Yoruba, even a little bit of the Hausa, Islam religion. Like, I explored as many as I could find. Now, after the surface exploration, it now came to, you need to make this deeper. But every time I try to go deeper, I started to feel a sense of fear. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go deeper, because if I go deeper, exactly. And that wasn't how I saw it though. I couldn't first process it, because I kept asking myself like, why can't you go deeper? Why can't you go deeper into your spirituality? Why are you always meeting fear? Because that was what I was always feeling. Fear, fear, fear. So one day I was in the kitchen and I was washing out dishes, and I was like, you know what, Amanda, you're in a place of calm and you feel safe. I want you to sit with yourself, because I now know how to self-therapy. Even when I'm walking, even when I'm in the car, I can, it's like an automatic thing to reflect on my own personality. So it's like, okay, so now I want you to take this time out and really think about it. I had music in my ears, so I could block everything out, and I could focus on the routine that I was doing. So the stable environment was good for me to explore deeper. So I sat and I was like, this fear that you feel, where do you recognize it from first? So I started to dig back into my memory. I went to my university days, it was always there. Secondary school, it was always there. And I just kept going back. And then I remembered, my mom, she was always fighting demons. So I feared that if I become much more spiritual, I'm going to be fighting demons too. And girl, I don't want to be asleep and a demon is chasing me. I don't want that. And then I was like, yo, but you know that that's not true, right? I was like, yes. And that was it. That was how, and now I have a spiritual faith that is completely my own. People ask me, are you Christian? I have no religion. I have picked many different bits and pieces from different religion and have formed what works for me. It doesn't have a label. It's just different practices that I do. I meditate, I do my yoga, I read my spiritual devotional books, I go to mass sometimes because I love the energy and the frankincense and people singing and all that. It gives me space to write in my journal. I pray. I have a Hindu god he's the god of wisdom, removing obstacles. It's called Ganesh. So I pray to him. I have like a little ring that has like his symbol, and I burn incense and I pray, and I'm like, you know what, protect me. He's also the god of new beginnings. So every time I'm about to start work or therapy, I burn my incense, I burn my sage, I purify the space, I pray to God. I'm like, yo, God, please help me throughout all my sessions today. I really need to make sure that all my clients are doing well and that I don't infect them with whatever it is that I'm doing and feeling on my own. And as I do that prayer, I'm like, yo, Ganesh, my dear spiritual friend, because I don't pray to him as my God. I consider him my spiritual friend, like someone, like your guardian angel, like your chi, that he walks beside me in everything that I do. And I'm like, yo, there are things that I cannot see within my view. I have a blind side, so please bring them to the forefront for me. Like, help me see, like a loving friend would. So I have all these practices, which when I talk about spirituality, it's like, it's not just focused on one way of being. It's like so many different things. I bring in Christianity, because I have clients who come to me and ask me questions during therapy about astrology, about Christianity, about traditional religions, about so many religious beliefs, and I see how it affects even their mental state, because it is required. Like, spirituality is a part of your healing process. Dealing with depression is not just about you saying your problems. There is forgiveness, there is an understanding, there is a need for empathy, there is compassion, there is a need to learn how to connect with people far beyond, oh, I see you and I like you, but feeling something. Your emotions are spiritual because you can't feel them. They are like transcendental. They open up the world. They make you more aware the more you understand them. All these things we talk about, fear, trust, love, loyalty, gratitude, these are all spiritual elements that you will find in every religion. So it's a better understanding of those elements. And Our religious practices these days does not allow our children that space. All we know is we go to church. Someone will not tell us, the Bible says that you must do this. The Bible says, according to the Bible, God said in the Bible. God did not say anything in the Bible. Man wrote it down. The Bible is a diary of people's experiences. God did not say anything. It was put together by a bunch of people who took different experiences of people and then said, this is a faith that they have believed over time, and these are the things that have happened, and this is what they've been able to overcome. And I want you to learn from their own experiences how to use your faith as your life. Because you would see the human quality is still very present in the Bible. The conflict, the contradictions in all the things it says, because it is human. It isn't as people make you feel as if God just came and said, Bible take. No, it is all. It's like if I'm sitting here now and I feel a certain like intuition just tells me like, yo, go to the mountain, sit there, meditate. I want to give you 10 things that I think would help human beings. And I go to the mountain and I sit down and I truly connect with myself and my emotions based on my own experiences. What are the things I have learned about life that I think human beings will be able to use to bring peace amongst them? And I write it down and I come down the mountain. I'm like, yo, guess what? I had this intuitive experience, and these are the knowledge. This is the knowledge that I gained from it. I don't think we should kill. I don't think we should murder. I don't think we should take things that belong to our neighbor. I think that we should all remember that we are with one God, and that one God is the one God. We are all connected, all together. Now, that's how Moses came up with the commandments. But all of y'all gonna be like, oh, he was standing there and then thunder came from the sky and then wrote it on the tablets and God gave him those instructions. No, because now what that has done is that it has made people now view religion as me, spiritual leaders, God. But that's not how it is, because God is always within you. You don't need an extra step to get closer to him. No, he has always been there. You are an image of him. You were made from the earth. You are one with the universe. You are a part of it, not a messenger of it, not a pastor preaching for it. You are one with it. So it would communicate to you the same way he speaks to the trees, the same way he speaks to the earth, the same way he speaks to the sky. You are a part of everything, even with the animals. Everything is all connected. But you never get a chance to learn that, because your parents are telling you that you will die and go to hellfire for what you just did. God will punish you. And then all it does is it then makes God look like a very violent, aggressive, controlling father. And that is not even anywhere close to who God is. Because they tell you his love is eternal. And they tell you that his forgiveness is internal. If it is internal, then what the fuck is hell? How is it somebody that loves eternally? Like, do you know what it means? It means that no matter how many times you die and reincarnate, he will always consistently love you. Then why would he burn you in hell? In a judge junka? How is it that a God that is internally merciful, forgiving, now because you don't die, you don't end? It contradicts. It doesn't make any sense. The questions that the kids have, parents are not there to answer, because even they are not spiritually aware. They go to church on Sunday and it's like going to church is just due diligence. God, I went to church, blah blah blah. But you still come back and do the same nonsense. I told my mom one time when she was insulting someone, I was like, the same mouth that you use to pray to God is the same mouth that you're using to curse somebody else. What do you think will happen to you? You go to church and, oh, praise the Lord Jesus. You donate 5 million, but you will not do your job when you get to the office. You would not express your feelings the way it's supposed to be done. Don't you know that there is God in your work? That there is God in your communication? That there is God, because God is love, and love is what makes everything function the way it's supposed to be. It was love that created you. It was love that created this universe. It is love that maintains the balance of the universe. So why do you not think that if God is love, why are you not using love in everything that you're doing? Because now you're contradicting yourself. Because you're going to church every day to pray, or you're going to the mosque every day to pray, or you're doing all the spiritual practices, but you're not living it. So you've separated your spiritual life from your actual life. Then how are you now a spiritual person? Because now I tell people now that I don't care who anybody is. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how wealthy you are. I don't care how powerful you are. If you cannot treat people well, I don't rate you. At all. You might be the most, I do not rate you at all, because the most important thing is how you treat yourself and how you treat people. So your parents have gone around and abused you. Now people don't even know how to form their own identity. They don't know how to form their own spiritual identity. They don't even know what their spiritual language is. They don't even know, they don't even properly understand what it means to be a spiritual being. They don't see how it connects. They don't know how to make sense of it. And they always come back to therapy with that void.
Spiritual abuse.
Exactly.
This is like aha moments.
Yes.
Exclamations. It is so, it's always an amazing time to have you on the show, because I learned so much. I think I know it. I think I have walked through my own, I can, self-analyze, and you talk and I'm like, well, wait, calm down. Are you sure you've not been spiritually abused? Is that why you're not going to shoot?
Yes.
But like, I am so grateful that you come on the platform today to talk about childhood traumas and talk about the different variations it comes, because there's physical, emotional, spiritual.
Yes.
It's the first time that I'm really understanding what spiritual abuse means. And thank you so much for hitting on that. I hope that you viewers at home also learned something and have been inspired and enlightened with the conversation that we had here today. I will drop her contact. She's an amazing psychotherapist. You've heard her, so you know that she's really good. Thank you so much again for joining us on the show.
Appreciate it.
The viewers at home, if you watched this and this triggered you or gave you a train of thought or just took you back to a certain memory and you want to share this with us, please write a comment, or you can send us an email with what you think. It's info@LoloTalks.com. We want to hear from you. We want to know that the conversations we're having are actually impactful, insightful, and enlightening. Thank you so much. Until then, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.